Tonight, are millions of us facing debt disaster?
So do we have a crisis with 8 million people who are struggling to sleep at nights because of their debts? Yeah, that's a crisis if you ask me.
What's the impact on our health?
More than a third of our clients have seriously considered or attempted suicide as a way out of their debt problems.
Could you be due compensation?
It would have been quite abundantly clear that they should not have been offering me these sort of payday loans at astronomical rates.
And what did this debt-ridden household do next?
It's a bit of a relief knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that I can be a better role model for my kids.
Good evening and welcome to the Tonight programme. With the average British household now owing £58,000, including mortgage debt, many may not realise just how close they are to financial disaster. So what potential solutions might there be for those from all walks of life with money problems? And in our hour of need, can advice from debt experts help? Asma Mir investigates.
Debt has many faces, many challenges, and with interest rates on the up, potentially many more victims. It's called the debt time bomb. Millions of us just about managing on overdrafts or maxed out credit cards. But how far away are we from potential financial meltdown? The average family spent £900 more than they earned last year. The first time in 30 years that UK households' outgoings have surpassed their income. So with saving levels also at record lows, do we have any idea how close many of us may be to big trouble? Martin Lewis does.
Let's make this plain. When people who haven't experienced it think about debt crisis, they think about someone who's been out spending, putting it all on the credit cards and it's all gone wrong. But actually what you often find debt crisis is about is change of circumstance. Losing your partner, getting divorced, losing a leg, all of those type of things that stop you working, stop the income coming in, all of those type of things are huge factors when it comes to debt.
British households owe an estimated £19 billion in utility bills, missed council tax payments and overpaid benefits. Another £72 billion is owed in credit card arrears. And it's grinding people down. People like Liz Nordia. Liz and husband Mark emigrated from South Africa to start a new life in the UK 15 years ago. They arrived in Britain with high hopes.
Well, Mark and I have been together since we were at school. We've been married for 32 years. We were both working. Yeah. I had 2 jobs. Mark worked at night. We didn't own our own place.
Liz was a low-paid care worker, Mark a lorry mechanic. They were just about coping, bringing up their 2 children. Then a catalogue of problems hit them. It started when Liz had a heart attack.
After I'd been sick, things just started going downhill. I had to reduce my hours. I was off work for a while, but that wasn't too bad. It was when Mark had to have a shoulder operation and had to be off work for a while.
Liz's mum needed financial help when she got ill. Then their car broke down and needed replacing. They got into a mess with credit cards and a bank loan, just trying to keep their heads above water. All the time bringing up 2 children on a shoestring budget. Their debts ballooned to £36,000.
Very stressful. I was given medication for depression, and Mark being Mark, very quiet, he didn't say or do anything and ask for any help.
The couple say they were recommended an IVA, or an individual voluntary arrangement. This is where you pay a percentage of your debt. The rest is written off. It weighed very heavily on Mark in particular.
I felt useless. There was no end to it. It seemed like everything I tried to do, a big wall in front of you.
It took Mark and Liz 7 years their debts. They are both now on benefits with, they say, little prospect of being able to work again. They're only in their mid-50s. They had felt at the time that the honourable option was to try to pay back some of the money they owed. In hindsight, they wish they'd gone bankrupt.
IVAs can be a good solution. They can, and they do work for some people. My concern about IVAs, especially from the commercial debt help organisations that there are out there, is they are very profitable for those commercial organisations. And you have to question, are they being done because they are in the individual's best interest, or they're in the best interest of the people giving advice?
Ready? Go!
Under the IVA, Mark and Liz ended up having to pay their creditors £9,000 of the £36,000 total debt. They also paid £8,000 to the debt management company in fees.
When people are going to ask for debt help, they're at the most vulnerable, they're most desperate, they're most trusting, and they're putting themselves in that of people who maybe paid a lot more for recommending one product like an IVA than for recommending other solutions.
If they had declared themselves bankrupt, it would have cost them almost £700 each at today's prices. Their debts would have been written off after a year, with no fees due to debt management advisors.
Bankruptcy is a bogey word. I mean, it scares the pants off lots of people. But actually, done right, it's one of those things that people tell me, I'm so glad I did it.
The Financial Conduct Authority, which regulates debt management providers, told us that it intends to review them to identify areas where improvements could be made. Its report is expected early next year. The Insolvency Practitioners Association, which represents about half of practitioners, warned of the importance of using advisors who would face sanction for giving bad advice. What if you're poor and in debt? Like single parent Gemma.
You see the baby ones?
She's on benefits and owes more than £6,000. She faced a dilemma when she moved into her new unfurnished council house.
Couldn't have made my kids sit on a concrete floor for 3 years to save up as much as I needed to save up to buy a second-hand sofa. Get a big handful.
So she went to rent-to-buy shop Bright House for a new sofa to be paid in instalments over 3 years. Annual interest rate at the time, 65%.
And then my phone broke. So then I went and got a phone from Bright House. I got a fridge freezer because mine was broken.
She even got her and her 2 daughters' beds from Bright House.
I didn't ever miss a payment. But then when we never missing a payment, I was always missing other stuff like paying my gas and electric.
But it all ended in tears. As other debts built up, Gemma couldn't afford to keep up the repayments. Bright House customers can choose to return its goods at any time, and that's what she did, handed it all back. All outstanding charges were cancelled. But Gemma had lost her sofa, beds, fridge, washing machine and phone.
The sofa was worse. That hurt me a lot because I'd paid all that money and it was just gone. And I had nothing to show for it. This was my home. And I made it into a home. I made it look homely and nice and tidy and everything that a kid should have. And to have it all taken away, it was very disheartening. I just felt like a failure, a complete failure. There's no other way of explaining it. It felt like failure. That was probably the worst week of my life.
Bright House told the programme that if they had known the extent of Gemma's financial woes, they could have offered her a payment holiday or reduced payments over an extended period.
It's quite perverse. It's called the poverty premium. The poorest in society pay the most for gas and electricity. The poorest in society, if they need to borrow, are charged the highest interest rates. The less money you have, the poorer you are, the more you pay for virtually everything. And dealing with your debt is no exception.
Gemma admits she's been hiding from debt for many years. Final demands go in the most drawer to be forgotten. Her curtains remain shut all day in case the bailiffs come round. She needs professional help. so we're sending her some.
My first objective is to find out exactly how much she owes, because often people aren't aware of how much they owe. See what priority debts need to be paid, and then look at her budget. There's always a solution for debt. It may not be the one they like, but there's always a solution.
Jane is the chair of the Institute of Money Advisors and has been a debt advisor for more than 15 years. She gets to work, fully aware that her advice could be life-changing.
Before you actually faced up to it and thought, I'm going to do something about this, what things went through your mind?
Avoiding everything.
So really,
I used to wake up in the morning, get the girls ready to school, go out for the day, come back, avoid being at home completely.
Why? Why did you avoid being at home?
I didn't want anyone to come around to my house. Any bailiffs, any enforcement officers.
Jane is the bringer of bad but not unexpected news. Gemma has very little disposable cash to pay off her debts. It's time for drastic action.
Well, the first thing is, could write to all creditors saying, I'm having real financial difficulties. I'm in touch with a free debt advice agency. They're going through my budget at the moment. Would you accept a token payment of £1 a month?
If accepted, it's a way of Gemma getting some temporary breathing space so that she can confront her debts. But there's more.
Please don't be ashamed to go to a food bank, which will tide you over while you're starting to get these things going. You're using a food bank because at the moment you're in crisis and you're trying to move forward, and this will enable you to do so.
I'm not ashamed to go to a food bank. If it puts food out, then that is the be-all of end-all of my life. Yeah. You feed your kids.
When you're really skint, there is a means-tested alternative to bankruptcy in England and Wales. It's called a debt relief order. It works where you owe less than £20,000. And if you qualify, your debts will be written off after a year for a £90 fee. Remember, Gemma's debt is just over £6,000, so she decides to go for it.
It's a bit more of a relief, knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and I don't have to wallow in it, and that I can be a better role model for my kids.
Hi, this is Carmelina from Christians Against Poverty. How can I help you today?
Here's one of a number of free debt counselling agencies out there. But this one has a unique way of celebrating when clients become debt-free. A Meccan wave.
So one of the best things that we do here at Christians Against Poverty is that whenever a client goes debt-free, we celebrate with them.
They helped nearly 3,000 people out of debt last year.
Robert's received a letter threatening bailiff action.
By the way, you don't have to be a Christian to get help.
Whilst you may lose the asset, you'd be better off in the long term.
Alongside the Mexican wave, there's heartache.
We step into homes and sometimes we can see incredible destitution here in the UK. We have had clients have told us that they've filled bin bags with clothes in order to create a bed for them and their children to sleep on. Amongst our client base, it's more than a third of our clients have seriously considered or attempted suicide as a way out of their debt problems.
The office is decorated with the first names of clients who are now debt-free.
We used to see more people come to us with credit cards and personal loans. Actually, what we've seen is now 6 in 10 of our clients are behind in either their rent or their mortgage. And a third of the debt that people come to us with are the essential bills. It's things like energy, the rent, the council tax. And the ramifications for not paying these debts can be really quite significant and really quick.
Obviously, I can